Well, it was kind of like an arranged marriage. His dad and my parents played bowls together, and Alan was in Vietnam, called up in national service, and when he came home, my brother got called up. And so my parents thought it would be a really good idea if Ron spoke with Alan about what to expect in Vietnam. So they were the ones who brought Ron and Alan together. And then they actually became good friends. And so he'd come round visiting Ron and start chatting to me. And next thing, Ron got sent over to Vietnam, and he kept coming round, walking the dog. And he knew that I used to study under the house because I was a uni student. And so he'd just detour in, have a chat, off he'd go. And then it sort of went from there. And then when Ron came home from Vietnam, he came home to find that his best friend was dating his sister, and he was pretty put out, I think. And I've never worked out, was he upset at the best friend for honing in on his sister, or was he upset at his sister for taking his best friend? And I think Mum and Dad kind of regretted their role in this relationship, because there was one night when apparently the two boys got drunk and turned up at the bowls and were swinging drunk from the rafters of the bowls. And I think they thought this guy had led not only their naive, innocent son away, astray, but took the daughter too. So, yeah, it was funny.
I met Norelle through the Kratzmans. I knew the Kratzmans from, I used to play bowls with my dad at Ashgrove Bowls Club. So I knew them, and when I came back from Vietnam, I went back with Dad to Ashgrove, and a little while later, Mrs. Kratzman asked me if I'd have a chat with their son, Ron, who'd won the same lottery that I'd won previously, with a great prize of 2 years in the army. And so Ron came along and we sort of had a chat, went for a few beers, became good mates, and I subsequently met Norelle at home when I went round to Ron's. And the rest is history.
Well, it had to have been a period of months, because our first meeting was, he was Ron's mate, he was my brother's friend. And so I knew him in that context before he started to become really a friend first. He just started to, drop by, chat. And so I'd say about, 6 to 9 months. And how old was I? I was in first year uni, so I'd have to be around 18. And he's 5 years older than me, so he had to be about 23.
When I was 22, I think Mum was 18, close. How long before we became a couple? I don't remember how long it was. I don't think it was that long, but no, I don't remember.
Who made the first move? Oh, it has to be him. Had to be him.
Well, I'll say it was me, in the sense that I became interested, and I asked Ron if we could, because Mum was a teacher at a dancing school in the valley, I asked Ron if he wanted to come and we do dance lessons. Yeah, I know. It's silly to think about it. And so we went to dance lessons, but I mean, I was there for trying to get closer to Norelle, rather. And yeah, but in the finish, we used to go to Cloudland. on a Saturday night, but I only danced with Norelle. I wouldn't dance with anybody else. And even having lessons, if I couldn't get Norelle, well, I stood out. I'm not the best dancer in the world.
He did invite me to go to a friend's wedding, but I was swatting for a uni exam, so I declined that invitation. So I think we went to the Trots.
No, I don't. I do remember asking Norelle to accompany me to a wedding. An army mate of mine was getting married, and Wally and Helen Gerritsen, and Mum was very, very busy with study at that time because she was still studying at university, and I think she had an exam on, so she declined that offer. Now, whether that was a date or not, I don't know, but I know I did invite her to accompany me to another wedding soon after, which was Jim Doherty, and she came and was my partner at the wedding.
I wasn't expecting it. He had it all planned. There was going to be romance, there was going to be wining and dining. We were going to go, he had it all planned to go to the Brisbane River near the Regatta Hotel. Starry night, lights on the river, perfect setting. And then the friend cancelled the wedding. We were going out to a friend's wedding. That was the wining, dining and romance. And then the friend cancelled the wedding 3 nights before it all happened. And so Alan's plans are in a muck. But we still did the river, we still did the starry night, and we still did the proposal, so it was pretty lovely.
Well, it wasn't a surprise to me. I knew it was coming. I'd planned for a long time. And we went out that night. I can tell you the date, if that's any good. 11th of December, 1970. Must be 71, I think. And can't remember where we went. I think it was someone's party. And then we left early, and on the way home I diverted to a place called, not Dolly's Rocks, something Rocks, which is near St Lucia, on the way to St Lucia. We used to go that way when I used to drive Mum to uni, and went down to this park. It's right on the bend of the river, and I went down on one knee, made the request and was accepted. We went home to Norelle's parents' place at Ashgrove, which was just around the corner from where I used to live, and went upstairs. It's an old Queenslander house. Went upstairs, and Norelle went and got her mum and dad, and Eddie was a big bloke, and I was a bit sort of jittery, and he came out in his pyjamas, and I asked if I could have Norelle's hand in marriage, and he said he was happy for me to have Norelle's hand in marriage. So that was all very nice. And then we went home to my mum and dad, and we told them, and Mum and Dad were delighted. Mum wondered why it taken me so long. But we didn't tell any of our friends at that time. We kept it quiet until the invitations arrived for the engagement party.
We've had some amazing holidays. So which was my favourite holiday? We've had some amazing holidays, but if I had to pick one, it would have to be the around the world trip. In 2007, we had 3 weeks in Vietnam. We had several weeks driving through Croatia, which was just beautiful. Then we flew to Rhodes and we stayed in a gorgeous villa owned by Alan's cousin on the island of Rhodes. And then we went up to Frankfurt and hired a car and drove through Germany. And then to cap it off, we kept going around the world, finishing up in Canada, Vancouver, through the Rockies. Wow, that was pretty special.
We've been lucky, and we've done a lot of travel, both out of Australia and in Australia. I think Mum's been to 42 countries, and I think I've been to 40. We've been lots of different places, but I really think our best holiday was our second attempts at going around Australia with Ron and Anne with the caravans. We had a wonderful 3 months or whatever it was. We went, saw some great places, and we were lucky enough to come across Bev and Kev, who Mum and I had met them in Spain on a bus tour. And they happened to be in the same pub on the same day that we were there, Daily Waters, and come up to us, and we were lucky enough that they could join us later on, and they spent quite a few weeks with us, going down the north-west coast of Australia. It was a great holiday. I don't remember all the places we went, but Australia's a great country.
This very pale face about to faint, not me. And so I had to say to him, go, because it wasn't going to be me that was going to be the patient, it was going to be him. So I sent him out of the room.
Not going to talk about Mum, talk about me. I presume you've already heard the story. Everything was going well, Mum was coping reasonably well, and the anaesthetist came in and offered Mum a epidural. And when he pulled over with the trolley, he unwrapped the parcel to get the whatever was inside there to do the epidural. And he pulled it out, and then he played with this syringe. It looked fairly long to me, and he said, "Oh, this is not right," and he threw that on the thing, and he pushed that one away, and he called the nurse over, and she got another bundle, and he undid that, and he got the syringe out, and again, and it wasn't right, and then the third one, he actually put in Norelle's back. I'm sitting in a chair here, Mum's there, and he's over there where you are, closer of course. But and then he said, "Oh, this is not right," and he pulled he's got it in Mum's spine, and he pulled the syringe out, and then he went like that, and he said, "Oh, this is not right." He said, "There's blood in it," and next thing he pushed it, and it went all over me. And, I was worried about Mum, about the pain Mum was in and whatever. And then I started feeling unwell. And the nurses said something to Norelle, and Norelle said to me, "Why don't you go outside for a little while?" So I went outside, and when I came back in, I came back in plenty of time for the actual delivery, of course, but Mum was really, really good, and didn't swear too much. She was great. And all three of us pulled through.
It won't be funny for anybody else, but it was sure funny for those of us who were there. It was 1976. We were travelling on an overseas trip with some union of students, Australian students. We met up with this fantastic couple that we got on like a house on fire with. They were from Tasmania. And so we were in London. We were in the same hotel. And because Alan grew up in London, so he's the tour guide. So he was taking us to all the sites, and he was saving the best till last. And he just had such amazing memories, and he wanted us to experience it. So he said, you've got to go down to the docks, you've got to go down to the Thames River. There's pub upon pub upon pub, and it's got all the students, and it's alive with activity, and there's singing, and it goes out onto the river. And then when you finish all this raucous, singing and drinking and carousing, then you visit the street upon street of barrows. There were barrows there, and they would sell mussels and cockles. And we could see the excitement in Alan. And so we started to get excited and thought, wow, this must be amazing. So here he was taking these naive Aussies from down under, in the big smoke. And so we got there, and we're looking for the hotels. Not a single pub left, not a single student in sight. And the streets and streets of barrows had gone to one lonely barrow. And poor Alan was devastated. And Steve is so droll, and he absolutely gave him heaps. And so every time we catch up with Sue and Steve, we remind Alan of his career as a tour guide in London. Yeah, it was hilarious.
It was at somebody else's expense. We used to go camping at Forest Glen every Easter with the Tullocks, and the Madisons. And we had tents, and the Tullocks had a camper van. And for some reason, Tony never used to want to go to church on Easter Sunday, but Bob would come along if I went. And this particular time we went there, I sort of thought I'd play a trick on Bob. And instead of going as we normally went, we let them go first. The Tullocks in their car and the Madisons in their car. And instead of getting in our car, I actually got in the back, and I hid behind the seat in the back. Mum drove to the church. I'm laying in the back and I'm laughing the whole way. I thought it was funny. And Bob, when we get there, Bob said, "Where's Alan?" And Norelle said, "Oh, he's not coming." He cracked right up. And I'm laying in the back and I'm laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. And he come round and I say, you had to be there at the time to see the funny side of it. But poor old Bob, he was really upset. I thought it was funny.
He is such a loving, caring, thoughtful person. And I know he loves me unconditionally, so I love that. I love that. The second thing I love is that he has been my rock, and he has been my encourager. And so he's never stopped me from doing anything that I've wanted to do. And I've had lots of opportunities in my career to do things, and I knew that he would have to pay the price because it would take a lot of my time and a lot of my energy. And never once did he hesitate to say, go for it, go for it. And he was always there on the home front, looking after you girls, looking after the house, being the absolute rock to allow me to do whatever I wanted to do. So that's special. And I think the third thing that I love about him, we've been on the page together in so many ways. Our parenting of our kids, we like the same holidays, we like the same homes, we like the same taste. And so there has been very few arguments in that space. But even though we've got lots together, what's also good is that we allow each other to have our separate interests. And so he loves his golf, he loves his golf mates, and that's great. And he allows me to have my friends and my interests. And so it's that mutual time apart, time together. It's been really good.
Well, she's extremely intelligent and great in body and soul. I'll be lost without her, wouldn't I? I can't remember the rest. She's been the rock for 50 years. And I'll repeat, the first time I became attracted to Mum, I knew what I was going to get, and I was right 50 years later.
I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed because I've had the most amazing husband. And let's be honest, we all experience times when the world can be pretty brutal. And so when you can come home to a husband who's there for you, who loves you unconditionally, who has your back and creates this really safe, supportive home that you can retreat to, then that's a real blessing. And the other blessing is that, we've had some wonderful times, and good times shared together is blessings doubled. So we've been very, very lucky.
Four wonderful daughters. Product of all my own work with Mum's assistance. And we've worked hard for what we've got, and we've been very blessed really with health. Both of us have had reasonably good health, and we work together. So what more can you ask for?